Hello everyone, my name is Jeremy. Welcome to Block and Key. In this video, which is part 2 of a multi-part series on installing a Bitcoin Lightning node, I'm going to show you how to install C Lightning, also known as Lightning D, on Ubuntu 16.04 LTS. You may choose to decide to run this on Ubuntu 18 if you'd like. That's fine as well. But being as I'm used to 16.04 and I currently have a full running node, mine's on 16.04. In part 1 of our video, I showed you how to install a Bitcoin full node on a Proxmox virtualization platform. Proxmox virtualization is quite flexible and allows you to use several applications all at once. I prefer to run my Bitcoin full node separate from my Lightning node for a variety of reasons, which are pretty obvious. One, I can back up my full node with ease without affecting my C Lightning. And two, as I discussed in part 1 of my video, it's not easy to restore. It's not recommended to restore, mind you, a Lightning node. For the simple fact that your channel state, if restored from hardware failure, the network may interpret that as an attack and you could lose your funds. So we're going to get started here in a moment and we'll be right back. We'll see you in a bit.
Block and Key.
Welcome back. So in part 1, I had mentioned about port forwarding from your router to the corrected nodes. Port 8333 needs to be port forwarded to your full node, which in part 1, I used the IP address ending in .55. This install of Ubuntu, we're going to be using IP address ending in .56 on a Class C network. Both of these are required. This setup and installation of C Lightning does not require you to do it separately. If you're capable and you choose just to install C Lightning here on your original full node, as I showed in part 1, you're more than capable to do that. You'll just have to adjust your port forwarding and some of your network configs as you needed. If you do that route, you do not need to configure the bitcoin.conf file for RPC. But in this example, we're going to be demonstrating that. So in this video, we're not going to spend too much time on the Proxmox software as we did in part 1. For further information on that, you can watch part 1 on that, or you can just search the internet, watch other YouTube videos, and determine for yourself if that's something that you would like to install and play around with. Right now, we're going to install. I'm going to go to our Proxmox installation here. So remember, it needs to be HTTPS. You need to specify the port. And as in part 1 of my video, I showed you how to upload the ISO to the server, Proxmox server. Here's the full node that we installed in part 1. So now we're going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to go right through the installation again, just for simplicity's sake. We're going to click on node 1. Create a virtual machine. Remember, this is going to be node 1 and this one. I'm going to call it .51. I'm going to call it our C Lightning node. Click next. Again, the storage is local. I've already uploaded the ISO. I'm going to select Ubuntu. Leave the rest default. Hard disk, again, just leave SCSI default. Now here is different. The hard disk space requirements for this are not going to be as demanding as our full node. 100 gigabytes should be plenty. So here I'm going to specify 100 gig. Or I'll just do 50 again. You can go ahead and do 100 gig. I'm just going to do 50 because my volume group, I don't have a lot of storage left on it at the moment. Click next. Leave the CPU sockets at 1. Again, leave everything default. Memory, you're going to probably want to give it some RAM. I have plenty of RAM in this system. 4096, which is about 4 gigs. Again, leave everything default and can confirm. So again, it's going to show that we're installing Ubuntu 16.04 desktop, 4 gigs of RAM. The name I'm giving it is C Lightning node. It's on node 1 again. Volume group, yours will be different. Yours will be probably local LVM. I have multiple volumes amongst my cluster, so this is the one I'm using. I'm going to click finish. And just like last time, if you watched video 1, part 1, created. So now we can just right click on here, choose start. Remember our Bitcoin full node that's on VMID 150, in your case should be running. See the CPU spike, the memory usage starts to pick up, and then we can click on console. And I'm just going to pause this to allow Ubuntu to start up, and I'll come back. So again, we're going to install Ubuntu. We're going to select English. We're going to install Ubuntu. I recommend downloading updates while installing. And just as in our first instance, we're not going to install any third-party applications just because it's not required. Technically, you wouldn't even need to install a graphical GUI on Proxmox, but I'm just doing this for simplicity's sake for those of you that may be new to this. And then we're going to click continue. Again, we're going to erase the disk and install Ubuntu. Click install now. I'm going to prompt you the warning that's going to overwrite the disk. Click continue. Select your time zone. I'm near Toronto. Keyboard layout, pretty straightforward. Name I'm going to use in this instance is blocking key 2. In my first video, I used blocking key for a full node. I always leave require my password to log in. Select continue. And now we just need to wait for the install to complete, some of the updates to happen. And then I'm just going to pause this again and we'll come back once this is completed. So once it's complete, you can click on restart now. There's one thing I did notice from my first video. If it doesn't reboot here from within the console of Proxmox and it seems to have frozen, you may need to use SSH into your Proxmox host and kill this server manually. To do that's pretty easy. I'm just going to launch a shell. So now I'm SSH'd in. I'm SSH'd into my Proxmox host. To kill this, in case this freezes, which it did in my first video, I forgot to mention, you'll need to come in here and force this stop. So all you need to do is SSH in. The command you give is QM, stop, and then the VMID, which is 151. You just have to be very careful when initiating this command that you don't shut off any of your other servers. Once that's confirmed, hit enter, and you'll see that it stopped, it killed it, and then stopped. Then you can exit out. And we're going to restart it. Switch off and come back. Now we can log in. And again, it's a little bit slower in a virtual environment. And we're running a GUI. Usually I don't run graphicals in Proxmox. I do everything from the command line in Linux. But for, like I said, for simplicity's sake and for newer users, this is probably the best way to do it. Same as our first video, we need to configure networking. We're going to provide a static IP address. On options, wired connection, leave the device to vault, your MAC address. I'm going to change this to manual, which is a static IP. Now remember, in our first video we used .55. This one's going to be .56. Net mask. I think it uses CIDR notation, so we'll just leave it at 24. And our gateway is your gateway router. Click add. There's our IP address. Net mask. Gateway router. Provide your DNS. Oh, I guess I have to delete that. Sorry. DNS. Save. And we can turn off IPv6. I always like to confirm my configurations. IP, subnet, gateway, DNS. We're good. Because our instance of Ubuntu here started up with DHCP, we need to reboot. And just so you know, once it's installed once, you shouldn't have it freeze again. You should be able to restart it fine in here. I don't know why it does that, but if you do need to SSH in, just remember to use that QM command to force the stop of the server. We're going to launch terminal again. And we should install SSH so we can SSH into here. So once SSH is installed, the server should launch automatically. And if we need to, we can just confirm here from our terminal. So there we go. So now we're SSH'd in. You may get these upgrade warnings. I just say ask me later or don't upgrade. So just like in our first example, you can go to our website here to install, provides the instructions for installing Bitcoin Core and Bitcoin D on Ubuntu. I'm going to drag this to my other screen. And we're going to install, first we're going to install the repository. Shouldn't take too long. Then we're going to install Bitcoin QT and Bitcoin D. Again, it's not necessarily mandatory to install Bitcoin QT. I'm just doing that for simplicity's sake. But Bitcoin D is mandatory on this particular server, especially C Lightning. The reason why we need Bitcoin D installed is because it provides the Bitcoin CLI, the commands that are required for Lightning D, C Lightning to run. So to do that, it's pretty simple. So you're going to install both. And remember, you can only run one instance at a time if you do decide to run the command line version. Okay, I forgot to do. Need to apt-get update. Shouldn't take too long, I hope. I'm going to try that command again. So we're going to install Bitcoin QT and Bitcoin D. Now we can quickly launch Bitcoin QT. Again, it's not necessary to have both, but Bitcoin D is mandatory, especially for C Lightning to run. It's because there's the Bitcoin CLI commands and there's other files that are required by C Lightning for this to work. I just install both for simplicity's sake, and for new users, it's a little bit easier to comprehend. So we're just going to launch Bitcoin QT briefly. Because if we don't, let's do an ls-la. We'll notice that we don't have our hidden folder. It's going to ask for the default directory. Again, it's home blocking key 2. And then there's the .bitcoin file or folder that we need. And you see it's warning me I don't have enough disk space. That's fine. I'm just going to continue to create it. It's going to launch Bitcoin Core. And I'm not going to download the blockchain. Always shut it down safely. Now we do ls-la. There's our .bitcoin folder. Now we can change directory into that. You'll see that we don't have our config file, so I'm going to create one real quick. Same as in my first video. You can use nano or vim.tiny. I prefer vim.tiny. .tiny, sorry. Now in here, this is where we, in my first video, I showed you how to create the bitcoin.conf file. We're going to do this, instead of doing it here from the console, I'm going to do it from SSH. It'll just be a little bit easier. Let's launch terminal. So now we're SSH'd in. I'm just going to leave this up so that you can see that. We're still SSH'd in. Present working directory or blocking key. Now we're going to change directory to Bitcoin. There's our bitcoin.conf file. You can't copy and paste through the console. That's one of the disadvantages of using the console and Proxmox. But through SSH, it's easy. Okay, and I'm going to copy this. I'm going to use I to insert. So in the first video I showed you, we had the RPC user blocking key, the RPC password, which is the same. So these two are the same. We have RPC connect to .55. That was our full node that we installed in part 1. And the RPC port is the same, 8332. So this one is saying to connect to our full node only. That's the port to use. And then again, these are the credentials to use. So this is going to be required if we were to run Bitcoin node on here. It's going to pass everything through our full node. So you hit escape, shift ZZ. Now that config file should be set. And that's it. I think I made a mistake here. Oh, I forgot to specify the port. Sorry. So you need to specify the port in here. You need to tell it to connect to our full node, but you also need to specify the port. The RPC port, this is going to be for if you wanted to connect to the full node. Use this as a secondary node. RPC port is saying to use the RPC listening port on our full node. Make that change, hit escape, and check again. Okay, so it should be configured good there now. So now that we have Bitcoin installed, Bitcoin QT and Bitcoin D, we have our bitcoin.conf file configured. We should be ready to install C Lightning. That can be found at the Elements GitHub page, Elements project. I have a lot of these commands already set to go. This installation should be pretty straightforward. However, some things you can ignore. It talks about Docker in here, which isn't mandatory. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring up my shell. I'm going to bring up Proxmox just so you can see from the behind. But everything I'm going to be doing is from the terminal. It's just a lot easier. You want to make sure in your root directory for your system. And then we're going to do an apt-get update. Always recommended. And I'm going to copy this in. This here, what I'm copying in is exactly from what you would see here. And we're starting to download Lightning. This may take a little bit, so I may pause this video and come back. So once it's done downloading, we're going to use the git clone command. I'm sorry, that wasn't installing Lightning, that was installing the dependencies. Now this command here is right here. Pretty quick, not too much. And then we need to change the directory. So what this has done now, it's created a directory called lightning. So if you do an ls, you see now that we have a lightning directory. So we need to change directory into there. And now we need to configure. And then we also need to run make. Make can take some time, so as this is running, I may just pause this and we'll come back once it's complete. So make does take some time, maybe about 3 minutes depending on the power of your PC or of your server. And once that's complete, if we go back to the GitHub, it talks about starting Lightning D. We do not want to run this command. Number one, we don't want to run it on testnet. We want to run it on mainnet. And number two, we don't need to run the Bitcoin daemon for the simple fact that we already have a full node. If you are running this on a standalone system combined, so you're running a full node with Lightning, then perhaps you would need this command. But I repeat, we do not need to run this command whatsoever. The command to run Lightning, which we will get to, but first we need to configure the config file for Lightning, being as we're going to be using RPC and we're going to be connecting our C Lightning node to our full node. I'm just going to bring this back up. And you should notice after the make is done, we'll have a hidden folder similar to our .bitcoin file. And it'll be called .lightning. So there's lightning D. Oh, I'm sorry. We're in the wrong directory. Bring one. I'll show you where we are first. So we're in home, lock and key 2. So there's lightning. And we should have a hidden .lightning file as a folder as well. But I don't see it here. Okay, I guess we have to launch Lightning first, similar to what we did with Bitcoin. So the command for that is this. Well, first we have to switch directory. Sorry, I switched one up. We got to change directory to Lightning. So it's lightning D / lightning D. You need to specify the network. We don't want to test that. We want to use mainnet. So it's / network equals Bitcoin / log - level debug. So we're going to launch that. Can you verify that Bitcoin Core is working? That's fine. Do a ps-a vector grep lightning. It's not running. So Bitcoin Core is not running. But here's a trick that I found. Now we have our hidden Lightning folder. And what I found I had to do to get this to work, I did find it on one of the forums, is you have to move this hidden directory and then we're going to create a config file inside there. Because what happened is because we're not running Bitcoin daemon Bitcoin core node on this particular server, we're trying to use RPC to pass everything through. We need to first clear that hidden folder out and then just have a config file, and I'll show you how to do that. So we're going to move Lightning to .lightning. I'm going to call it .orig. You see how we have .orig? And now we're going to create a directory just called .lightning. So that's makedir .lightning. We're going to change directory into .lightning. Clear that. So the present working directory, we're in home, lock and key 2 .lightning, and we're going to touch, and it's just called config. Now I can use vim.tiny again. And you're going to configure your configuration file like this. So Bitcoin RPC connect. So basically we're saying, hey, we want you to pass everything through to our full node, which we installed in part 1. Bitcoin RPC port, again, which is 8332. RPC user is blocking key. That's the config file that we had in part 1. Our password. The alias here is not dependent on for RPC calls. This is basically telling the Lightning node to say, hey, once you're connected to the Bitcoin Lightning Network, this will be your alias. Right now, mine's blocking key, my full running node. In this example, I'm just calling it blocking key dash test. You're going to announce your IP address. Obviously, you're going to substitute this IP address and port with your IP address and your port that you're using. Network, this is very important. This must be in this file. You need to tell Lightning that you're going to run on the Bitcoin mainnet. So network equals Bitcoin. And RGB colors are just your colors that you're going to use to mine are like a bluish purple. You can change these to wherever you want. Hit escape, shift ZZ, and now your config file is done. So remember, we tried to launch C Lightning, but because we weren't running a full node on this server, we basically got an error. But that still created our hidden folder, .lightning. So if we want to check that out quick, .orig, those are some of the files that it created. But we've moved that. We're not going to be using that anymore. If we just look in our .lightning folder, we just have our config file, and that's what we need. So before we launch C Lightning again, we want to make sure that our commands are going to work so our RPC calls can actually hit our Bitcoin full node. So remember, we're not launching Bitcoin QT or the Bitcoin daemon, Bitcoin D at all. So it's Bitcoin-CLI, help. So it looks so far so good. Another command you can run is get peer info. So you see how it's picking up our peers from our full node. So our full node's connected, so everything is passing through. We have communication between our C Lightning node and our full node. So now we can launch our command to get Lightning to work. Now we need to change directory to Lightning. First show you home directory, so we're going to change directory to Lightning. And the command to launch our C Lightning instance. So remember, we changed directory into Lightning, then it's lightning d / lightning d /network equals Bitcoin. You need to specify that because we don't want to run on a test net or anything. We want to run on the Bitcoin mainnet. Then it's /log. Let me expand this a bit. -debug or equals debug. Hit enter, and voila! You now have a fully running Bitcoin Lightning node. This is best to run from the console, however. Right now I'm running this through SSH, which we'll have to kill it right now, but it is working. So we're connected to the Lightning Network. So I'm just going to kill that. Sign back into our console. So remember, we need to change directory into Lightning. And it's lightning d, specify the network. Needs to be Bitcoin. Oh, I forgot a D, sorry. There we go. And you can just minimize this. Just let it run in Proxmox. Let's just remove some of these. That terminal, you can just let it sit. Now a Bitcoin full node with a C Lightning node that is connected to our full node running Lightning. And now you can just exit out of here, leave that, let it do its thing. And it's going to take some time for it to sync with the network. But other than that, that's it. So now that we're still in our terminal, remember we had killed this session here. We launched Bitcoin, the C Lightning D from within the console. That way it's isolated. Because if you launch it from SSH and you close your terminal session, you'll kill it. You'll kill the application. But while we're in here, I'll show you how to run some basic commands. So if you're to sign in from SSH, the first time you're going to be presented into your home directory. So you want to change directory into Lightning. And some of the basic commands using the Lightning CLI, Lightning-CLI. If we do get info, so you see it's got blocking key test. We have no channels. We're on port 9735. And remember, your router should be port forwarding that to this server, or the .56 IP address. Shows what version we're running. You can also do list peers. Obviously, we haven't connected to any peers yet. That's one. And of course, there's the help, which will give you some of the commands that are available to you. So you can pong new address will generate a new address for you. I won't be going into details on how to connect to a node yet, how to route payments, how to fund channels. I'll do my best. I promise to do another video this week, and maybe we'll buy something from Blockstream, and you can see how that works. But in the meantime, what's the other one? So obviously you need to fund your wallet as well, which is kind of important. This is new ADR. So that's new address. So this is a receiving address. So you'll have to take, you'll have to have some Bitcoin, and you'll have to transfer some funds to this wallet. This is a public address. Of course, you'll have to wait 6 confirmations for the blocks to confirm on the Bitcoin mainnet. And then once that's done, you can issue this command. Should be list funds. Obviously we have no funds. So hopefully, like I said, I'll do my best to try to do another video. We can do that. And again, also the command line isn't the greatest thing to use for Lightning payments, obviously, but there is Spark Wallet that you can install on Android, or you can access it through the browser, but you need to install Spark server on your C Lightning node, not your Bitcoin full node. Again, just emphasize why I prefer to keep my Bitcoin full node separate. I want to have that running at all times. And but this should conclude this video for the time being. Thanks for watching. I hope it was beneficial to you. And if you have any questions or comments or concerns, drop a link in the comments section below. And I hope to do some more videos this year, especially as we're in the bear market. This, I honestly believe, is a great year to accumulate. This is exactly what I did in 2015 when everyone wrote Bitcoin off. And frankly, for the price, I don't care. Fundamentals for Bitcoin have never been stronger. They have never been stronger. I've been in this space for a long time, since 2011. Started accumulating in 2015. So it's not financial advice, but it should be a good year. And with Lightning, things will improve, definitely. So thanks for watching, and till next time, take care.